I just want to make sure that that hit home for everyone, that we were talking about the incremental increase in value when we're talking about that 2.1 million. So let's just explain this to me one more time, guys, just to make sure I and the audience at home really gets what we're talking about here, because this is massive.
It was originally listed at 1.99, up 2 million. We ended up getting it for 1.7, which is at, at a cap rate of about 4.75 at a 5% cap. That's essentially worth, $2.184 million. So we're increasing the value of the building by 2.184 million. We're looking at about a 1.6, 1.7 million kind of profit at the end of this 5-year project.
Hey YouTube, Matt McKeever here. We got another great video coming at you right now focused on multifamily investing. We sit down with Mike and Mark, who are currently crushing it in Hamilton with 2 side-by-side 7-plexes. This is very much like a Casey Wong type building and a Casey Wong type video. Very similar to what you've seen with Kyle Ford as well. I think you guys are going to love it. So smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and we've got a lot more coming with Mike and Mark in the future. I'm really excited now. Mark and Mike are going to give us a tour of one of their units that's currently under renovations, and they're going to show us exactly where they spent their money when it came to those strategic renovations. First of all, thank you guys for taking the time to give us the tour. No problem.
Yeah, pleasure. So this was a pretty beat up unit originally. We're about 4 or 5 weeks into the renovation. Vinyl flooring, right? So vinyl flooring, which looks like a nice laminate, and so that's great for durability. So we're not going to have to change this out for another 10 years, we hope. Light colors, light grays, whites, crown molding, all these really little added. They're minor investments, but gives it the real homey feel. You can probably take a walk into the bathroom. I mean, not the most exciting place, but again, clean, really clean, quartz countertops. Again, make it, and we put the vinyl all the way through, so there's no breaks, easier to install, etc. And again, spacious enough for a 2-person, dwelling. Again, quartz countertops, etc. The big value, I think, where we're getting a lot of good incremental value, at least from a tenant perspective, is main area and kitchen. So you can see up here that we have in-suite AC. So this is new. We're talking about $2,800 to $3,000 to add that. So at first glance, may seem like a significant investment. I think the key word is investment. People will pay to have that versus having no AC, first of all, or having the units hanging out the window. The other significant component, again, this is all total brand new. Probably spending about $5,000 or so on the kitchen, quartz countertops, brand new cabinetry all around, undermount lighting, on this. So again, we're really just trying to create a home for people, and this kind of stuff just really makes it seem really, really cozy. We are putting stainless steel appliances in our units. A fridge, $1,200 to $1,500. Dishwasher, stove, as well as microwave. So again, this is pretty much you rent the unit and you're set. You don't have to do anything else. We're also putting in-suite laundry, which is what this space is for. So we don't have the stackables. It's about $1,600 to $1,700, which is a washer dryer, kind of all in one unit. Again, makes it super convenient. We do have common area laundry in the building. Once all the units are turned over, we will be taking that out, and we can utilize that space for probably storage and get some incremental value out of that space. But yeah, no, it's good, spacious. I think we opened up the doorway of this kitchen as well. So again, it was just a little doorway coming in. We expanded as much as possible to give it a ton of just space, and just again walk through area. So yeah, we found that it's in high demand. Again, it's brand new, and people are loving it. Tenants are loving it.
So where are you guys buying these kitchens? Is this an IKEA kitchen? Are you buying custom kitchens?
So it's custom. So we work with a construction partner that's very experienced in units, in renovating units. So he does, I don't know, 100 units a year maybe in this market.
100 units.
100 units a year. So appliances coming from a distributor. So again, because he's buying in large volume, we're able to take advantage of that pricing.
Just to touch base on having a contractor that does, 100 plus units for rental specific, is they're cutting costs by obviously buying in bulk. They know the type of renovation for tenants, so they're not nitpicking, spending time necessarily to do things 100% painting every touch like you would in your personal house, which cuts cost. We've had other contractors that we've interviewed, and costs are outrageous because they have a really good workmanship and don't get it from the rental housing side, right? They're doing it like it was a custom house type of thing. So that's something to be aware of as well when you are renovating for rental spaces.
So do you guys know, what are you paying on average, like, for a square foot of this laminate flooring? And what's it cost to install?
So this flooring is about $376 per square foot. So it's fairly expensive. Prior to the last 24 months, we used to put laminate flooring, and what we find typically after 2 or 3 years, a tenant turns over, the laminate flooring's peeling in a lot of spots. It looks old. We typically need to replace the whole floor. Where I don't know if you guys can catch this on the camera, but these are glued down. And typically, if something happened to this where it got scratched, this can withstand water. But if it got scratched, something dug into it, you can literally drill into it and pull out that section and glue down another section. So very easy to replace, as well as very durable. And one of the duplexes that I've recently renovated as well, we had a flood. The boiler flooded, there was a leak on it, and the floor is still perfect. Right? So is it more expensive or is it cheaper in the long run? And something to think about when you're investing for 5 to 10 years down the road.
Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the video. We're going to dive deep into the numbers. And so Mark and Mike have broken down in depth for us the numbers behind the 2 side-by-side 7-plexes they have here in Bartonville, Hamilton, Ontario. I'm really excited to dive into it. So before we even get into this purchase price, my understanding is this wasn't their original asking price, was it?
No, it was basically $2 million originally. Again, this was on the market for 400 days, so the original list was $2 million, and then they came down to 1.8 or maybe 1.85, actually 1.9. And so this is, and then when we bought it, it was listed for 1.8, and so we kind of got him down even further. I think he was the owner, because we had contact with the owner throughout the process. I mean, still through the agent, but we did have contact with the owner. He was just fed up. It was 400 days. He just kind of wanted out, right? Yeah. So we were able to, leverage that.
Gotcha. Do you guys find, I know definitely in my market in London, Ontario, if a property sits on the market too long, just a stigma starts to be associated with it, whether that's correct or not. Do you think, was that the case on this building? Like, was the fact it was on the market so long, does that play with people's minds?
It played, I think, with us even, with us was like, oh, are we missing something? Like, why hasn't it closed? Like, what are we missing, right? And so, I mean, we went through the inspections, the foundation engineer went through all of that. That was kind of our biggest fear. Is there anything structural that's an issue that we're just not seeing and other people have seen, and that's why they pulled out? Again, the listing agent told us that it was due to financing, but you take that with a grain of salt. I think that's what was the case. Eventually, we've had this for, not a year yet, but, everything's fine other than the cosmetic stuff. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it played on our mind. Are we missing out on something? Like, why are people not buying this thing? It seems like a good deal, right? So, absolutely.
These were also listed individually, so back to new investors coming in, actually analyzing the deal properly. Right. You come in and you see it at $8.99, I think was the last price on MLS, and then realize the owner's not selling them individually. They are individually titled, so then they're trying to make it work. Is it over their head? So I think because it fell through so many times for about 6 months, it was sold conditional. Gotcha. Right, and I think he was lining up a buyer, didn't have confidence, so every time I would call or see that's not through, oh, we already have someone. Okay. Listen, we're serious here, and then finally we got in, we had a crack, and the numbers worked out. So.
Okay, interesting. So you guys acquired this at a 4.75 cap rate?
That's right.
And so then, do you mind just kind of walking us through how this whole process laid out?
Yeah, so
Ben and I have something to announce that we're really excited about.
We're getting married.
better. We're actually going to be starting a company, Cashflow Tribe.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about this. It really combines a lot of our passions and a lot of our focus together. And so this is going to be a real estate business. It's going to be education oriented. And we need to know exactly what to make this business for you guys, for the audience. So here's the deal. We're going to put together a survey. We want to pick your brain and understand exactly what's holding you back from jumping in or leveling up as a real estate investor. And as part of this trade for filling out the survey, I'm going to give everyone that fills out the survey access to OREC 2019 footage. There's literally like 20 hours plus of amazing content from OREC 2019. But in addition, we're going to pick one lucky survey participant, and we're going to give away 2 free OREC tickets, as well as a one-on-one with both of us. So you'll get to sit down with us. Maybe Ben will even bring out the Lambo for you guys, and you can pick our brains on anything you want to talk about. And you should have a lot of questions for this guy that's already done 181 deals, over $21 million in non-bank financing, and that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
We need your help, guys, please. For us to really understand what's better for you, we need you to fill out the survey and tell us how we can help you. We're going to have off-market deals, tons of training and support. We're combining our two worlds to give you a lot of value. So please help us, and the trips and the excursions and fun things are a nice bonus, but truly help us understand what you need so we can help deliver it in a massive way. Let's do it together.
Absolutely. Link in the video description down below. It's just going to take a couple minutes. Jump over, do it. We'll give you free access to the course, and we look forward to hearing what's holding you guys back.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Hey, one more thing. I'm also going to do a Lambo lunch one-on-one with whoever the winner is here today. We'll get a chance to sit down, drive the Lambo, have a bite, talk life, business, personal development, and I want to do that with you. So let's do it. Let's stay humble. Let's get it.
So you guys acquired this at a 4.75 cap rate?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And so then do you mind just kind of walking us through how this whole process laid out?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, it was originally listed at 1.99, but 2 million. We ended up getting it for 1.7, which is at a cap rate of 4.75. So in terms of the financing side of things, we do have a first mortgage on it for 1.105, so it's about a 65% LTV. I think this piece right here, from what we understand, and from afterwards, this is where things fell apart for a few of the previous parties that were trying to buy it. They were thinking or assuming that it was going to be a 75 or 80% LTV, which if they're planning on and budgeting on an 80% or even a 75% LTV, and then at close or when they're ready to close, is an extra 10% that they have to come down with 170 or 200. That's depending on what they had negotiated. That's an extra, let's say, 200K. Yeah. Right. So I think for those not familiar with multifamily and not ready for that, that's a deal breaker. Right. So in our modeling and our own underwriting, we're assuming anywhere between 60 and 70. So we're already kind of in that range anyway. So we're prepared for that, for the amount that we required for closing. From a capital requirement standpoint, so down payment about $595, closing give or take $50,000, inspection, appraisal. We didn't have to get a phase 1 on this one, which was good. So that was great. The lender that we used did not require it. Legal, etc. We also budget, again, it's 14 units. We budget about 30 grand per unit to upgrade everything, and we'll go through that in a second, I guess, as well. So about 420,000. Now we didn't need this money up front for the purchase. We just needed to close with essentially 640-ish or so. Okay. And then in terms of the net operating income, which is obviously a key factor in multifamily, it was about $80,000 at that point. At time of acquisition. At time of acquisition. Gotcha. Yeah.
And so did this just come from personal savings for you guys, or how did you come about putting together the down payment, the closing, and then the eventual renovation budget?
Yeah, so we have some of our own capital in there. We had significantly more than we do today. Over time, joint venture partners kind of saw the deal, liked the deal. We originally targeted to do about 12 to 15% ROI. It's probably closer to 20 now, because as you'll see, when we underwrote this project, our estimate was that these units would do about $1,175, and the model would work. They're doing $1,400.
Gotcha.
Right, so it's
there's a lot more upside.
A lot more upside than we originally thought, and there's a couple of things that we haven't factored into yet, which is that the LRT is about 50 meters away. That'll be a bonus once it's.
And did you guys know that at the time of purchasing? And do you mind just for the audience kind of explaining the importance behind that?
Sure, yeah. So we did know that. We did know that was coming. They hadn't had the stops or the proposed stops outlined. So light rail transit is basically a line that will go through Hamilton. Essentially, if you're within 1,000 meters or 800 meters of a significant transit line or transit system, that can boost your rents by about 10 to 15%. We're about 50, so we're within 200 meters, which typically increases, rents or value by about 20%. And so, that it was a strategic buy for us, and in terms of economic fundamentals and building some security around our investments, transit is one of those factors that we like to be around because of that reason.
Awesome, love it. So let's dive into the next page.
So this is essentially kind of what the profit that's kind of on the table right now. This is now based on new rents. I'll break this down. So on average, when this was bought, we're sitting at about $750 per unit per month. There's some that are still paying mid-60s. Some are paying a little bit more, but on average, about $750. New rents, so new market rents in this area, we've already hit this mark at about $1,400 per month. So in terms of incremental rents, we're looking at $650 on average per unit times 12 months. You're about $780 per month for the building once everything, assuming 100% turnover conversion, times 14 units. So incremental, $109,000. Essentially 109,000 from gross rents. At a 5% cap, so even this we really haven't valued it at a 4.75. Again, this is a 5-year project, so in Hamilton, cap rates over time do compress, and so it could be 4.5 in 5 years, it could be 4.2, it could be 4. We're running our models on a pretty conservative cap rate, so. Again, if this moves down, which we imagine, this number will actually be a little bit bigger, but that'll be kind of cherry on top money. So an incremental 109,000 at a 5% cap is about almost 2.2 million in incremental value. Subtract the renovation and other fees, round it to 500. I know I said 420, but let's say we round it to 500 just to be conservative. We're looking at about a 1.6, 1.7 million kind of profit at the end of this 5-year project.
I just want to point a couple things out to some new investors. So this $1,400 a month in rent is today's rent. And I've been in Hamilton since 2012, and you've seen the rents constantly go up, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I have friends not too far, I would say a 5-7 minute drive into downtown. They're getting $1,550 for similar unit, 1-bedroom unit in the downtown core. So when you are underwriting a deal as a newer investor, keep in mind where rent's headed, right? We originally thought $1,175, we managed to get $1,400. If we start turning units over in a year from now, we may be looking at $1,500. So that's something to consider when you're underwriting. Another thing this is the way we underwrite and kind of look at a deal when every unit is turned over. When you're underwriting a deal as a new investor, maybe account for 70% of all units turned over, because you can really crunch your numbers and make it work. Whereas if we only turned over 2, 3, 4 units, right, you may not have your ROI, and if you're bringing money in, you got to be, aware of that. So typically when we walk into units, we'll look at, like, from the beginning stage, we go in, we kind of evaluate a building. Are they middle-aged single people? Will they be moving? Are they younger couples that are going to move into, their own house one day? What is the tenant profile? Because without turnover, obviously you're not going to get your money in the multifamily. So just be aware of that, and I would say be somewhat conservative and never underwrite 100% of all units being completed.
Guys, I just want to make sure that hit home for everyone, that we were talking about the incremental increase in value when we're talking about that 2.1 million. So let's just explain this to me one more time, guys, just to make sure I and the audience at home really gets what we're talking about here. Because this is massive.
Yeah. So maybe I'll start back from up here and just take it step by step.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but if you're enjoying this video with Mike and Mark and you want to learn more about Hamilton real estate, more about how they're investing or just their investing journey, we've actually shot some Facebook exclusive videos. We're going to be releasing them on a private Facebook group. I'll throw a link in the video description down below. All you guys need to do is join that Facebook group and you'll get access to these videos. Oftentimes what ends up happening is we shoot a lot of content when we go out to meet with these real estate investors. Sometimes it always just doesn't fit nice and neatly into a YouTube video, but I want somewhere else to be able to release this and provide you guys value with. So I think we're going to throw these videos in the Cashflow Tribe. If you guys join the Cashflow Tribe Facebook group, you'll be able to get access to these videos. Guys, I just want to make sure that that hit home for everyone, that we were talking about the incremental increase in value when we're talking about that 2.1 million. So let's just explain this to me one more time, guys, just to make sure I and the audience at home really gets what we're talking about here, because this is massive.
Yeah. So maybe I'll start back from up here and just take it step by step. So this is what we have today. So 750 per unit per month is what we have today. We know, because we've done it already on one unit, that these units, with the renovations that we're doing, we are going to get 1,400, right? And assuming that over the next 5 years, we're only going to get 1,400. We know it probably will go up, but let's just be super conservative. We're going to get 1,400. Now the incremental, so that essentially is from today to what the market should be, is an extra $650 per unit. So $650 per unit over the course of a year. So 12 months is $7,800 per unit incremental over the course of a year.
New income.
Yeah, so this is all new. This is all on top of what currently exists. Multiply that, we have 14 units in this complex. So times 14 units, there's an incremental gross income of 109,000 essentially over what we have today.
Gotcha.
Right? So what is the value of that incremental 109,000 at a 5% cap? That's essentially worth, $2.184 million. So we're increasing the value of the building by $2.184 million. Now, what is that in profit? Well, in order to get this, we had to spend about $30,000 per unit plus extra costs. So let's just say round it conservatively. We had to spend $500,000 to get this incremental value. So you subtract the costs to get that value, and you net out at about 1.684 in extra value.
Massive.
Yeah.
So essentially, what we're saying here is we acquired the property at 1.7. We created 2.1, almost 2.2 in new value. So this building, realistically, once you guys have turned it over completely, it's going to be close to $4 million.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So you take your 1.7 plus this, you're in the 3.5-ish range. Yeah, absolutely.
That is awesome, guys. Those are huge numbers. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to break it down for us. This is truly inspiring. All right, guys, one of the questions that comes up all the time on my YouTube channel is financing for these larger multifamily projects. Do you guys mind breaking down for the audience a bit some of your experience or perspective when it comes to financing deals like these 2 7-unit buildings?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're financing, that's your opportunity to be creative. On this particular building, because our strategy is a value add strategy, and I know a lot of people will go the CMHC route, get a high LTV. Our strategy on this was to go like a bridge loan, B lending, short term. So we're able to get in here, renovate some units, add the value as you guys seen, and then actually go with a conventional A lender. So we're getting a higher LTV, refining some money like the BRRRR strategy that everyone's familiar with, but just in the multifamily side. Now, if this had been, more of a turnkey, we may have gone CMHC right from the beginning. And that's obviously to get a higher LTV, a lower rate, and keep it long term. So I think the financing on buildings depends on your strategy. So if it is a more value add at the beginning, you're going to want some sort of a bridge or B lending. And then as you stabilize the building, move more into conventional / CMHC type of financing.
Awesome, great advice. So I think the next one that we should do just naturally leads up to it. Let's talk about the difference in rates between an A and a B, and then whether that really matters. So one of the things that like I constantly get with young investors or new investors is like they're always hung up on the interest rate, and like literally that's the thing about the deal they're bragging about. Where I'm like, oh man, like that's the wrong thing. That's the only thing to brag about. You're doing it wrong. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys just want to kind of chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, this is 5 1/4. At 5 1/4, you probably got a conventional at the same time would have been like, high 3s, low 4s, right? So paying more, but the fact that we can break it in 2, right? So that's the value for us. So cash flow gets affected, obviously with a higher rate, but the flexibility, I think it's really what was super value for us is the flexibility to break after 2 and then move on to something else was really kind of what mattered most versus interest rate. Yeah.
I mean, we look at a deal from NOI, ROI perspective.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in some cases, if, A or B isn't going to finance a building because it's so depreciated, like I said, because we're value add, sometimes it makes sense to go totally private at 8-10 points and the building makes sense. Sometimes at 5% it might not make sense. So it all depends on someone's specific strategy and the type of building they're purchasing. Right, and with limited inventory, we are typically value add. We want the most appreciated building to turn it over. But with limited inventory, if we came across something that was 30% rented already with a bit of upside, the building looked good. We have investors that are more of a longer term play. Well, maybe the finance strategy and interest rate, will differ, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it all depends. It's a tough question, and then it's comfort level, right? Going to CMHC, you typically save a point, you pay a massive fee. But it's somewhere between 5 and 6 years where that interest rate differential covers your fee. And typically even with the higher loan value, because from an A lender to a CMHC, it's somewhere between 20 to 30% more of a mortgage that they'll give you. So typically even with that higher mortgage amount, your monthly payment will be cheaper because now your amortization's over 35 years and not 25 years, and your interest rate's that 1 point or 75 basis points less. So differs. It's a tough question, but it differs. Hey guys, Mike Rockall here in Hamilton at our most recent purchase. If you guys want to reach me, my email is mike@rockallrealestate.ca or on Instagram @rockallrealestate.
Mark Baltazar, peakpropertyinvestments.ca. I can be reached at mark@peakpropertyinvestments.ca, as well as on Instagram and Facebook, Mark_Baltazar. Super excited to share insights with Matt McKeever and the crew, and also look out for podcasts that we've just launched, Canadian Multifamily Investing in Canada, specifically about multifamily investing in Canada.
Thanks again to Mike and Mark for breaking down the numbers on their side-by-side 7-plexes in Hamilton, Ontario. Amazing story, amazing deal, and they're absolutely crushing it with this deal. I just find it so inspiring. It always makes me want to go out there and make more offers, get more deals, and just do more real estate. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and otherwise, until next time, remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money in this world for us to all make it, but if you're not saving it, I mean, like, what's the point? Thanks, guys.